Hello world! Patricia, O'Connor, and Frida Reba Darcy here today. Oh, I'm going to collect that. Today on the Bonsai balcony, I'm going to trip over our equipment. I treat my apartment like a studio, and it's kind of, sometimes it looks like a good looking little studio, and sometimes it looks like, God, what were y'all doing an all-nighter? Today on the Bonsai balcony, we have a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday day. The look of our trees is very, very nice. I haven't watered hardly anything this week. I've watered this guy a couple of, I say I haven't watered, but then I start pointing. I've watered this guy, and I've watered my maple, and I threw water to that row of pines. I may have watered that big tree once. Everything else, we have been getting so much rain that I've just not had to worry about watering. That's just been taken care of for us. The opposite might even be true. We might be looking at a little too much water. So I think it rained this morning, was our last rain, and it is a really nice Wednesday out. I still have cypress fronds all over those little, and look at the colors. Let's just look at the colors on these guys. Today on the Bonsai balcony, we're going to go ahead. We're just going to take our time about getting off of this, because once we get started, I don't look for this to take a whole lot. I look for what to take a whole lot. I'm about to defoliate. Right here in front of you and Frida, I'm about to defoliate these 3 trees. And while that's not a very difficult job, and it's not a very time-consuming job, and it is kind of satisfying too to some degree, after that, and it's not something that is absolutely necessary. It's not, I don't defoliate these trees as part of some ritual to help it do something in its next move. I defoliate the trees so that I can see them better when I go through and start selecting and trimming back branches. So that's like step 1, we defoliate. Step 2, we decide which of the 2 branches maybe that are too close together we're going to keep, and then we act accordingly. But to give us a really good look at what we're doing, I start by defoliating. The other side to that is once we do that, we look at bare trees. We look at bare trees until spring, and that's just the way it goes. That's just the way it goes. We've already noticed that the uptake of water on these guys has already begun to go down, but it's not hard to defoliate. In fact, what you see me doing, that would be easy enough, but it's really easier still. We just kind of do that. Hello, crow. Hello, crow. Now, as the cypress tree makes these branches, starting in the spring, it buds out a whole bunch of stuff, and that stuff starts out a really hard green. Hi there, beautiful. Hello there, beautiful. It starts out a really hard green, and then it kind of turns this maroon color, and then kind of a brown. That's just talking about the color of the twigs as they lignify, and little tiny things like this, there's probably not a lot of point in trimming that. It's not that likely to be here, or it's not likely. Stuff that's that small probably will not put out buds next spring. If it feels like it's on there fairly solid right now, some of the tiny stuff, whenever you go to defoliate it, it just falls right off because it's dead too. And some of it isn't dead, but over the winter when it continues to just further shut down, we'll discover that it hadn't lived long enough to lignify in a way that would take it to the next stage. So that's kind of what I'm saying there. So defoliating your bald cypress, and would be the same method for my dawn redwood. And if you notice, I'm not holding back on the little bit of green that's still there. When it goes, it goes. You can tell there's not a whole lot to that process. No scissors or pruners needed. The wind this year did a lot of this for us too. So when I have this guy bare, this is a limb. This was 2 years ago. Cut it, thought it would branch off, but it didn't. It grew this. Okay, fine. We cut it here. Last year we got this. So this year, after defoliation, we'll give these two guys a chop and probably get rid of this. By this I mean right here where it didn't ramify, where it just came off with one. I'll probably redo that. I'm not gonna lie, I do miss this foliage. I miss seeing the silhouette. See, now that's an example of something that didn't go long enough to probably become a proper branch. That may have. In fact, it's got a lot of buds on the end. I doubt if we'll see those on the back side of this, but I won't pull them off. No reason I can see why I would pull those off. If that continues to keep energy going down that stem, then that's fine. Oh, I don't know. I also, the other thing I might do is cut that off whenever it comes time. Yeah, I might cut that off. I'm going to cut that off to there. So, well, that's the way that goes anyway. Look at every one of these. Every one of those is a bud site. And every once in a while, you'll see a cypress tree get maybe a little freaked out about something. And every one of those will turn right around. I just broke that. Will turn right around and produce a bud, and it just looks, that prolific look is just too much. I mean, it's like, oh my God, what happened to it? And I think they catch something, or maybe they're freaked out by something that's happened to them and they just get all prolific like that. I've seen pictures of those. So these guys make branches quickly. And in bonsai sense, they ramify fairly quickly. I also have seen some bald cypress that have been finished bonsai for years. And some of them, I think the branches, when allowed to, the branches will get thick to a point to where they can kind of lose that special something. Not ugly, but to me, they kind of lose that special something. I like these guys. to have a little bit of a lacy look, somewhere around double that, for instance, I would already have some limb in the wings waiting to be the next one, so that I could start over with one or two per section, and always without laying the tree bare, have whenever possible start working in replacements. And I think that's the way it should probably be for trees like this. If you walk underneath a bald cypress, you won't see a whole lot of original growth limbs that come up out of the ground and then do that and then do that and then do that. They tend not to do that. They tend to grow tall, really tall, and they tend to put out a prolific amount of these guys from top to bottom, and they tend to constantly shed some and constantly renew. Sometimes when something happens to the top, or they grow more than one apex, those apexes, those first couple of years of a new apex, they can branch off into something that'll stay for the duration of the tree. You know, like a slingshot or a Y shape at the top of a tree, especially if it makes a new one or loses the old one to storm or something. But for the most part, these guys grow long, straight, sleek, silhouette, dare I say, sexy, cylindrical, beautiful things, and then they put out an awful lot of branches, and then they're constantly shedding them, and you can actually hear them when they shed them. They'll pop. Like on some trees, when you see a branch here, you'll see what looks like an eye shape around it, where the bark split when that shoot came through. And as that bark rolls over, where the bark split, that bark will roll through. It starts to roll over and roll over and roll over and pinch tighter and tighter and tighter. Meanwhile, the branch is growing thicker and thicker and thicker. And I can remember at times in the late afternoon sitting on the porch of my father's place, which was surrounded by cypress trees and a bayou on two sides. And you would hear something go pop, and you would see a limb falling straight down through the trees. And it had just had enough. The rollover plus the fattening of the branch caused it to break, and where it breaks, it doesn't look like a tear. It would look like if you snapped a carrot. To have a bunch of those trees is to have a constant supply of walking sticks. Sure are beautiful. And I was hoping that I would be able to smell these cypresses, but I can just barely every once in a while get a little whiff of it. They've slowed down, and there's so little in the way moving through these guys that this is just how they do. All right, that's a tree down. We're moving in. And those needles and old fronds are everywhere. I'm not concerned. The fronds and leaves that are all over the floor are all over the floor of the balcony are wet. So I'm not even going to mess with them. But when we get a couple of days of dry, and we don't have that coming, I think we've got at least 2 more storms on their way. When this dries out, I'll come out here with my shop vac and do 2 things. I'll vacuum the floor, and then I'll turn the shop vac hose around to the blower side, and then blow out all of this. You know, I don't have a leaf blower, but I do have a shop vac that can act as a leaf blower. And I'll just send all these I probably should do that first, huh? Should probably blow all this stuff off on the floor and then vacuum it up. That sounds reasonably responsible. Wow, that's almost both trees. Just as soon as that, well, this one got defoliated more. Also, while we're doing stuff, one hand, y'all. But that's just probably about as. Just went back in different tracks, but not before I already made some good lines in this top. Those aren't that deep. It'll fix that. And if it wouldn't, I can replace that top in a summer. So, and I need to do that to these others, especially the tallest one. I can see where that's taller than I am. I'm gonna have to go up there and do that, but I need to pull that wire off and rewrap that. Yeah. What else do I have that I can reach on this one from here? Here, that. Pat, you're covered in fronds. That's okay. I kind of like it. Quick look at our Ponderosa while I slurp some coffee. Slurp indeed. Quick look at our coastal oak. Everybody has cypress fronds on them. All right, I think we're down to one tree here. The next video I do, I will come through. It'll be, whereas this is just point and gossip while I do this. It's kind of mindless. The next one we do will be step 2, where I'm actually going through here and making choices based on what I see. And that'll be making choices on the limbs that these 3 trees grew last year. And how we decide and what we decide to keep and what we decide to lose. There'll be some branches in there that I have a year or 2 invested in, but I still might see something new and like its placement better, or you know, something. It's kind of like having a beauty contest. There are those that will stay and there are those that will go, and every year that something stays, it becomes a longer lasting piece of history in the history of these art pieces, these living art pieces. And those that will go are not any less. They have just, like all of the other pieces will eventually, they've done their part and they make way. So that's what's going on there. As per dictated, sometimes by the season, there are branches here that are just so nicely placed and so nicely done that as long as they decide how long. It's pretty much kind of a compliment when you think about it. All right. we are just knocking this right out. A little harder to pull off when they're still got a little chlorophyll going on there. Okay. And then get all of our hangers on. I saw the most fog last night that I've seen in a couple of years. It was just, Frida and I were just swimming in it on our walk. It was, I mean, the Bay Area is known for fog, but this was like, come on, this is like London fog. No, this was more like film when they're trying to do London fog. It was like ridiculous amounts of fog. Boom. All right. And that is how we defoliate three bald cypress trees. And that's about how long it takes to defoliate 3 imperial bald cypress trees. Oh darn. You know, it's okay, but I think they're prettier when they have green foliage all over them. Yeah, like and subscribe if you guys have not already. Our next drop will be in a couple of days when I come back out here with some scissors and set up. I'll probably set up camera static. Static means that it's on a tripod and I'm not jerking it around or putting my finger in it like I typically do. But I'm standing there, but then I also have to put on makeup and wear clothes and stuff. And then I will cut this back to our this year's choices. Who will survive pruning 2024 and take us in to 2025. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. I appreciate you. Frida appreciates you. And thank you so much for watching. You just kind of do a little payoff on both ends of this. What do you think, babe? I made us a pot roast this morning, so it's like, poor thing.